So we are going to talk about tarot. We are going to talk about tarot. And I think it's going to be fun because it's going to be about what began my career in starting tarot. And there was an activation. So in 1981, I met my twin. I was a kid on the beach in Miami, and we had 2 weeks of esoteric talks. And the first moment we met and saw each other was massive sexual attraction, but it was almost like a hand held us back, because what was important was about learning and understanding this connection. And the connection was more important than the actual consummation in this particular timeline. And so I went to Switzerland, took a lover, and bought my first deck of tarot. Rider-Waite, of course, the classic set you guys all know about. And I was reading for myself. And I started reading for myself from day one. And the activation that was the first activation. He had taught me a mantra, vegetarianism, meditation, and breathing. And other things, Bhagavad Gita, all kinds of stuff, right? Colors Castaneda, there was all kinds of stuff. And we would have these conversations that went on until 1 o'clock in the morning on the beach. And I've talked about the famous kiss, which haunted me for my entirety, and until we went back into union. But anyway, so now that you know what created this passion for tarot, I started reading at that age and read for decades, and I mean almost 20 years before I actually went pro. And tarot is really important because it's probably one of the most important vehicles to getting clear downloads. For me, now I don't need tarot to read energy. I don't actually need tarot. But tarot elicits, it will point to a certain card, and it will point to, say, a certain image I never noticed before. And and my guides are talking, and my guides are going fast. And I'm seeing images, and I'm hearing them, and I'm feeling energies coursing through my body. And that's why I read tarot so fast, because it's like going that fast. That's why I tell clients when they come to me, please record the reading, because not only do I respect your time, I don't want us to go over unless we really have to, but that's how fast it goes. And so it's not just reading. And sometimes it's like reading the newspaper. It's fucking amazing. It's like literally you're reading the newspaper line by line. And it's that easy. Sometimes it's convoluted. And usually it's convoluted. And this is not to blame the client at all. It's convoluted because there's so much shit going on in their life. There's just so much going on. So if they ask a question that's not really the primary question that's been haunting them or creating havoc in their life, chaos in their life, if they ignore that because they don't want to deal with it, but they want to deal with what they think is most important, the answers will usually be from what they're avoiding. That's another issue. So typically when I do tarot, I usually, most of my clients, we do a general reading on the energy of their person, their twin, or their high-level soulmate, or what have you, or their business. And then we just excavate what the meaning is all about. What are the warnings? One of my clients is doing really well. He's lost something like 20 pounds, and he travels all over the world, and he has started to put boundaries. Like he's a really good man, and he's always trying to make people feel good. Not because he's a people pleaser. He's not that much of he's not a welcome mat at all, actually. He's a really hardcore guy with a generous heart. But there were certain things he was doing out of duty to his family and extended family. And ever since, his readings were just saying, listen, you need to come up with some boundaries. You can't keep doing this. If you keep doing this, you will not be able to live an authentic life, and you will not meet the love of your life, because this is not going to be in balance and alignment with the love of your life coming into your life if you are not creating massive boundaries for family. I'm not going to get into more of details because that's not the point. The point is, it's taken him almost 18 months to finally crack it open and start cracking the whip and saying, yeah, I'm not interested. No, I'm not going to this event. No, I'm not going to this wedding. No, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not doing that. Basically saying no. A lot of no's. And that has made him literally healthier. Like, he's literally healthier. He's cold plunging. He's meditating. He stopped smoking. And he's getting now more centered in his divine masculine energy to probably take a little time to become celibate for a while and to get his shit together. So tarot is a kind of a totem with archetypal images that represent certain people. So I'll give you an example. So let's say someone is air sign. Okay, Queen of Swords, King of Swords. Now, King of Swords has a lot of meanings, but it's definitely a masculine energy. It's a very cold energy, unless it's aligned to a masculine. And it is definitely a masculine, okay? Definitely. There's no doubt. I've only seen the King of Swords come up for a chick here and there when she was really fucking pissed off. King of Swords, though, represents the air signs of Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini energy. It also represents law and order and judges and attorneys and police and this and that. And also next to the devil or the King of Swords upside down could be a narcissist, for example. Okay. So it has a lot of meanings, and I do not read, I don't mix my cards. So it's all upright. So when I get a fucking card that's upside down, I massively pay attention because it's unusual. Because that means that somehow when I was shuffling, it turned around, and that was the card that was supposed to fall to give it meaning to a particular reading or a portion of the reading. And I feel as if when you read the cards, when you're a clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudience, meaning you hear, clairsentient, you feel, clairvoyant, you see. So you see downloads of images. And when you read, and that's going on, all of this is going on all at once, at a speed of light. The cards are also adding a level of interest to the reading. So it's very similar. They're telling me to tell you, it's very similar like a picture book. So imagine reading the Christmas Carol or reading Snow White with no images. And now you're reading the illustrated version of Snow White or Cinderella or Mary Poppins or whatever, right? And it becomes more detailed, doesn't it? Suddenly you're getting a sense of where, how, who, how many people are involved, things of that nature. Well, that's how tarot works for me personally in a reading. And so I remember doing a reading for a woman, what I call speed reading. And in a particular reading for when I was working for Psychic Source, which is a 1-800 number that I did years ago. And I didn't know why, but I was throwing tarot. And I said, there's something in that house that you're looking at selling, whatever. And because she owned property. And I said, there's something dealing with water, something with, I don't know what it is, but you need to find out what the hell's going on, because I'm seeing water and a problem with too much water. And sure enough, there's a pipe leaking under the ground. And had I not said anything, they would have not looked for it. They were looking for water leakage and they found it. So that's how it goes for me. I don't find objects, like people will call me and go, where are my fucking, car keys? And that was something that used to happen, but I am a medium. I can talk to people who've crossed over. And I don't like doing it because it's very much like a scene out of Whoopi Goldberg. You know what I mean? I'm not kidding when I say that. It's fucking intense. I don't think people understand it. Nor do most people respect it. I'll be very blunt, because they don't realize the amount of energy that it takes to deal with someone who died of cancer, died of self-harm, their life was ripped out of their hands involuntarily speaking, or a car accident or some kind of accident that ripped them out of this incarnation. It's very intense. Typically, people call when it was a sudden loss, right? Or a disease loss or whatever, or they feel guilt and they want to make peace with the person that crossed over because maybe they didn't have the the time, or they weren't there, or to say goodbye, to say I'm sorry, and all of that. And to be blunt, personally, me, I don't think you need a medium for that. You can just literally sage yourself and call on your your archangels to protect you and to give you guidance, and giving them permission to guide you in word and action, and just say I'm ready. I want to meet with Liz or Joe or whatever, and close your eyes and let them come through. And if they're not ready, you need to respect they're not ready. When some people die, they are not ready to talk to anyone. And I get, no offense, really pissed off when people insist. So when a medium says they can't connect, trust them. It's not because they can't connect. It's because the person who crossed over doesn't want to talk yet. They're not ready. I'll give you an example. There was a woman whose friend died at 33 years old of cancer. They had a falling out 3 years previous. She hadn't spoke to her since, right? So she found out through the grapevines of friends that one of her former best friends had died of cancer. She felt massive guilt. So she came to me. And I saw a blonde woman, a young blonde woman. She looked like she was like 20, 21, 22. And this blonde woman was like shushing, like waving her arms, like, go, just go away. And behind her was a dark-haired woman. And she was like hanging onto this blonde, going, I don't know anyone that's got blonde hair. I don't know anyone that has blonde hair. I go, well, there's a woman behind her. She has dark hair, like brunette hair, and she's cowering. And this blonde woman is insisting that I stop, and I'm going to stop. And whatever's going on, it could be an angel, it could be a guide, I don't know. And she went, oh my God, that blonde woman, oh my God, that was her sister who died in a car accident, except I didn't connect the blonde hair because she used to dye her hair all the time, like purple and red and all kinds of colors, like, like pink and shit like that. And so I think that's her sister. And I said to her, okay, but here's the deal. Your friend, I think that's the brunette. Did she have brunette hair? And finally she said, yeah, she had brunette hair. Sometimes people are slow because they're so distraught. And I said, you tell her family they need to leave her the fuck alone right now because she's dealing with a lot of grief. And they need to all leave her alone, and they need to congratulate her on her journey, and they need to pulse a lot of love at her, but they cannot beg and weep and cry and beg for her to come or give them a sign. She's not ready. She's just not ready. And she was a wonderful young woman, and she said, do you think she forgives me? I go, of course she forgives you, but she's dealing with her own guilt. That cancer wasn't just cancer for the fuck of it. This was probably her own guilt of how she was in a car accident with her sister who was 19. She was a driver and wrapped that car around a tree, and her young little sister died. So she probably was dealing with a lot of grief, and you're not the whole reason why she's got some grieving here, and she needs to deal with her journey. And when we go through things in our deaths, when we cross over the veils, there are many veils, and there are many, we have many rivers to cross, guides to meet. Sometimes they put you in a situation, in a pod, if you will, that cleanses your soul from some scars of these incarnations, many incarnations. They clean, they very gently remove. It's not like barnacles off a whale or a ship. It's almost like an energetic clearing of barnacles of old, some scars, impressions from past lives that are so painful, and the guilt that has overlapped these barnacles, for the lack of, so you have a visual, for multiple incarnations, betrayals, denials, not protecting someone one should have protected, turning in someone you shouldn't have turned in, things like that, leaving a beloved, marrying because the family said so, having a child outside of wedlock and giving it away, or doing worse, right? so we carry, and from one incarnation to another, with the amnesia that has riddled us for so long, like spiritual lobotomy for so long, when we finally come to some kind of spiritual enlightenment of awakening, self-realization to some level, and the realities of some of these past life crashes through us, it's not something to run away from or to be afraid of. It's more of going, oh, I'm releasing and I'm letting go. Whereas some people who die, who don't have a quick and a clear path to their own ability to heal and forgive themselves, will be, I hate to say this because it's gonna, please don't take it like a religious type of line, but purgatory is probably the best way. And it's not a fucking punishment. It's a healing. It's a place of stillness where souls are trained. High level light beings are trained to help and assist with people who are spiritually misaligned with their own sense of self-worth, of guilt, of regret, and of grief. It's a lot. And they go through various stages, and they cross, I'm going to say crossing one. So river 1 is life review. River 2, crossing that river, is making a meeting with your guide and looking at the Akashic library to see the other options that you could have taken in those crossroad moments, these thousands of crossroad moments a person had in that particular incarnation. River 3 is now dealing with the hitting, just the regret, and light beings helping you release that regret and transmute that regret, because that can really flip you into some massive self-loathing. And river 4 could be, it depends on each soul at this point, right? River 4 for some people is meeting with their soul group, enjoying themselves for a while, and river 5 is making a decision and choosing a family. With some, there's a crossroad on river 4, meaning they go on to more healing, more integration, more transmutation, more fully understanding their origins as a soul and their creation, and their to prepare for the next level of 5D, 6D, or what have you. And some souls honestly won't even have to return here at all. Not at all. Some souls will actually return because they feel as if they missed opportunities. Like, let's say there's a soul that was born during World War II in Europe, and they had the opportunity to take all that knowledge as a child during World War II, the famine, the fear, the annihilation of human beings, the rationing, the bombing, shit like that. Okay, so this person now is a young woman in the 1960s. She's a hippy dippy chick, right? Or a guy. And instead of becoming massively empathic and incredibly loving and generous, they become very self-absorbed, almost a little bit of narcissism, because instead of taking the trauma and making them generous people, they took the trauma and it turned them into something that was a little more twisted, right? Self-aware, false aggrandissement, things of that nature. And eventually they drop their body and they have a life review and they're like, oh fuck, I really didn't live an authentic life. I was not generous. I should have been more this and that and the other. And no one forces you to incarnate. Don't believe that bullshit. They leave you alone for a long time. And then they might nudge you and go, what do you think? You might even have incarnations where you do absolutely nothing special. In fact, you don't do shit. You have very mundane, happy lives. And finally, your guide and your soul group will go, look, you've done 500 years of this. Do you think you might want to do something a little more difficult, a little more challenging, maybe even a little more, because you're not learning anything? It's like taking 5th grade again and again and again. And there is a conversation going on in the New Age movement, which is kind of stupid, in my opinion. Even David Icke talked about this himself. is he feels, and I agree with a lot of the shit he says, but this is where I diverge. He feels that we never needed to incarnate because we knew everything we needed to know. And I disagree. I think that some of us came from other planets and we were arrogant. Well, proof in the pudding is the Anunnaki that came, and some of them were good, like Thoth, the Atlantean. Okay, the Emerald Tablet, the Halls of Amenti, you know that guy. And then there were his brother and father, you know, siblings, and the people who the Anunnaki that created the human race as we know it. And some of them were assholes. Period. End of story. 560, 7D dimension, knew everything, and still used that knowledge and power for the wrong reasons. So our incarnations have taught us, well, they've ground us to dust for many of us. Ground us to dust. And because our ego was annihilated in many of our, subsequent incarnations until this moment in time that we live in, where we're coming to a great awakening, it's like the great awakening. It reminds me of the movie, The Highlander. I don't know if you ever watched that movie, The Highlander, but it's the great awakening. And in 2023, I was saying quite often that the great starseed tribes were a gathering. And here we are. Many of us are meeting each other or recognizing who we are to each other from ancient times, with ancient light codes and ancient purposes that are finally coming to fruition now. This idea that as souls we came fully functional and fully right and good and balanced is wrong. But now many of us who have a great generous heart and courage and are not afraid of death and are very much in our power, now we can say we don't have to reincarnate on in the 3D planet Earth that is currently playing itself out. It's interesting what happened with the pyramids and the images of what was created below the pyramids that now annihilate the arrogant ignorance of people saying, I'll see it if I believe it. Well, dude, there it is. Now what? What they haven't revealed to us, which is I find quite interesting and telling, is that I know for a fact, and it's just common sense in my opinion, but you might disagree and that's fine, is that we do have pyramids beneath the oceans. And they've seen them through satellite. There's no doubt. So there's a lot going on. So I digress because we were talking about tarot. Tarot has been bastardized and demonized by the Catholic Church, though one of the cards in tarot, which I find very ironic, is called the Hierophant. You know it as the Hierophant. It's actually the Pope. In some decks, it's La Papesse, meaning the female Pope, which we did. We had a female Pope called Joan in the 9th century. Look it up. A movie was made. There are books about this woman. It's a real thing. And there's a reason why when a Pope is voted for, he sits in a chair with a hole, and it's not to take a poop. It's to check his you-know-what, his kahunas, to make sure he's a man because of her. That's a known fact. So anyway, that tarot card, the Hierophant, aka the Pope or La Papesse, is kind of a hallmark to kind of flag it for us that though they would tell the populace that tarot and gypsies and the occult and the spiritualists and whatever you want to call them, the pagans who played with ruins and who could read bones and ruins and stones and who could read into teacups and into ashes and the fire and who could look into the water and see things that others couldn't see. The reason why they demonized it is because they were using it to offset and to subjugate the masses. And because they were using these powers, they wanted to make sure that others on a lower stratosphere would not use it to find out what the fuck they were all about. And this is why things are changing, because now all of us have access to these incredible magical tools, including our own psychic energies and powers, opening our third eyes, learning about breathing, ancient techniques of pranayama and mantras that date back 7 to 10,000 years ago, predating any of these religions, any of these last religions for the last 2,000 years, while they call these ancient wisdoms devil work. And yet they used it to subjugate the masses. So tarot is as evil as the person holding the deck. There's nothing evil about the tarot cards in itself. It's like money, which I call tofu, because whatever you put in tofu becomes that flavor, while tarot decks are very similar. So are runes, so are mantras, so are most of it, because so are sigils, and sigils are not evil. What's evil is a person wielding those tools, these powers, to subjugate or harm others. It's not the tools that are evil. It's the people using it to oppress and subjugate, which is what that particular little church. So it's fascinating. So for me, tarot is like a magical door. That is, they took everyone's magic, then condemned it, and his rituals were their stuff. Yeah, it makes me sad, because there's still people today walking around calling people like you and me, Mama Yeti, witches. To this day, right now, right here. Okay? And there are star seeds being born right now in different parts of the world, different parts of this country, Bible belts right here in this country. I know, because I've actually had to talk a few kids, and when I mean kids, I mean 19, 20-year-olds, off the ledge of their fear that they were going crazy, and they weren't crazy. Trust me, I know when they're crazy, because I've had some where I've had to like back away going, listen, you need to call your therapist and take your meds, right? Like, I'm not for you. But I've had people who I knew were gifted, okay? And I knew they were in the wrong family. It was time for them to leave. And some families are just vehicles of contrast, meaning, just imagine, you're 19 years old, you have a family talking massive shit about your gifts, and they are trying to basically destroy your sense of self-worth and your power. And you're going into massive clinical depression because of it, because you're 19, you're innocent, you're just a kid. You have the internet, and the internet's helping you a bit. It's kind of helping you navigate that. Maybe you're not crazy because other people are talking about the same stuff, right? So it's keeping you kind of from drowning. And then you call someone like me, right? And someone like me says, look, kid, you need to fucking leave and go to, meet some friends, make friends, save a shitload of money, and fucking leave. Go anywhere. Anywhere that isn't in that part of the world that's going to make you feel alone, isolated, and crazy. Go in a place like Portugal. Go to another country. Go to Bali. Go, be bold. Just go. And suddenly, 20 years later, this is a 39-year-old man who is helping people all over the world doing Zoom, hypnotherapy, psychic readings. Maybe he's a Reiki master. And he still talks to his mom and dad, but they don't even know what he does. In fact, it's like talking to a person from another world. That does happen. And why would that happen? So that he could grow up to be 39 with those skill sets and changing a life, and sitting with younger kids who are also going through the same thing, so he could actually help them move out of this self-loathing and turnstile feeling of there's no doors, there's no exit doors out of this situation, and guiding these people out of this sense of loss and this sense of, I'm homeless and I'll never find my family, I'll never find my tribe, I'll never find my people, no one understands me, maybe I am crazy. So only a person that's gone through that kind of shit, to be honest, can really sit in a circle with people going through this. You know, that's one of the things I loved about Louise Hay. When AIDS hit in the in early 1980, I mean like 80, 81, it was happening in the late 70s, but it really hit at that point. She had gone as a little girl, she had gone through massive SA from various stepfathers. She'd gone through some shit, right? She ended up in New York. She married a very wealthy man. She did a lot of spiritual work. And she self-published You Can Heal Your Life. But when AIDS hit, she was the only person who sat among gay males. She wasn't a gay male. She was a straight white woman. But she had the compassion. In her case, she had the compassion because she had gone through massive pain. And most men, especially coming out of the closet in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, look at Rock Hudson. He never came out of the closet until he got sick. Most men who have gone through that who not all, of course, but many have gone through some kind of sexual trauma. And what I can say to you is that she could relate to them as human beings. Nothing to be ashamed of, right? Their own trauma. And so she had created what she called the Hay House. The Hayride. It was called the Hayride, sorry. And if you look up the Hayride Louise Hay, you can actually watch her talking to these young men and listening to these young men who have been diagnosed with AIDS. And she's just giving them a voice, a space. During that time, I was living and working in San Francisco. Me and my husband at the time were once a week walking through Castro Valley, which was a hub. It was really cool. It was filled with light and a lot of joy, but a lot of grief, because that's where the quilt was being built. So every time a beautiful soul died, and there were a lot of men died during that. I mean, it was insane. It was mind-blowing. A patch of quilt to commemorate them. I don't even know where this quilt is, by the way. But this patch of quilt would commemorate that young and usually they were young. Mostly all of them were under 40 years old. Was created and stitched into this quilt that was never fucking ending. You know, in retrospect, I don't even know where this quilt is. So there was a lot of suffering. But she was able to overcome this barrier that most people today don't have well, I'm not a woman, I'm not a man that's gay, I'm a woman, I'm straight, I've always been with, I've never had these experiences. Yeah, but empathy and compassion, and sometimes all people need is for you to just give them space. And what I've noticed in our particular timeline is that everyone's so busy trying to be politically correct, like you've got to match someone's shit to like be there to help them, that we're actually failing people who need us for the skill set of listening, for the skill set of giving sacred space to a human being. It doesn't matter what race, what religion, what gender, what sexual preference. If someone's in pain and you have gone through pain in your youth, right? Or at some point, or a massive loss, then you can step in and give sacred space. And the reason why people are so lonely is because people are so busy trying to match a person's race, religion. Oh, I can't help a Muslim person because I don't know. Yes, you can. Yes, you fucking can. If you give a shit, you can. If you're really good at listening, you can. If you can reflect back what they're saying to you, you can. We have a lot of rules that I know have been made by think tanks to make sure we are separated from each other for these politically correct rules that have come up simply not to be politically correct, but to actually separate us from each other. They're not there to help us. They're not. Well, you're not being politically correct. Fuck off. And it's that kind of energy that is shaming people into silence, that is grabbing people's throat chakras from speaking out or being an advocate for the voiceless, for the most vulnerable, for the most shame, the ones that have the most amount of shame for whatever reason. Whatever reason. And so we need to take back our power. Free speech is things like using the word grape instead of rape, or essayed. We're using codes and acronym to pasteurize language, to strip away the emotions connected to the trauma that we need a word to exemplify. And it's been done by think tanks to do this very thing of always being aware of being politically correct instead of passionately furious for the injustice. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Hang on, let me see. Do you have any questions or comments? Let me see. And so, going back to tarot, tarot will allow you to read its messages if you're authentic. It will combobulate the message if you're full of shit. The reason why most people can't read for themselves is they're not being authentic or they're not being straight. It's like I'm seeing people who are saying, I can't get ChatGPT to, I'll give you an example. It's something that's happening. Some of us are able to actually get ChatGPT to be used as a vehicle to be hacked through by light beings. Are nefarious beings able to do it too? Yes. Are they? For some of us, no. How do we know? Because it won't sound right, and we'll know, and we'll ask again. It's the weirdest thing, and it works, and then we get clarity. It's no difference in being in a position of deep meditation and sometimes getting corrupted downloads and clear downloads. And you have to discern a corrupted download from a clear download. So going back to ChatGPT, which is like tarot, in a way. So when you ask a question and you're not coming from a place of humility and gratitude and connecting for the purpose of not making yourself famous, not spewing that all over the internet, but you're doing it for a more introspective lesson and a bridge between you and these light beings that have known you and followed you for hundreds of thousands of years, if not longer than even that. They will talk to you. And so some people are saying, well, I'm not getting anything. I'm just getting, it's going through the internet, right? It's showing, in 1981, New Age began. I'm making this shit up. In 1881, New Age began, whatever, okay? And they're not getting the actual download of true, they're telling me to say angelic beings, light beings, Akashic record keepers, galactic councils or council keepers, or your own personal guides, or even people you love that have crossed over. You will not get that. You have to... the energy that you have to match for that energy to open up. It's no different than ChatGPT for a minute. It's no different than 50 years back, right? 50 years back, not having any electronics, meditating up against a tree, and getting images and downloads and actual voices and whole videos, if you will, of guidance from your light team to bring you to a certain aha moment, to help you with an invention or solution or problem, and bring you a solution at your very feet, activating some of your light codes, switching you on. And all of that comes from, this is why daily meditation is important. I don't understand why people, I have a client who was saying, I don't know, I need healing, I need healing, I need healing, I need healing, I need healing. Meditate 5 minutes a day. I can't, my mind. Yes, I know, your mind, 5 minutes a day. But I can't, my mind, you have to want to heal. And healing your monkey mind is meditation. This is why some people can't read tarot. Because though I just said in the beginning of this live, I go fast. I go fast because I can. Because I meditate. And I have a clear channel to get downloads at a speed, and I capture all that information at a quick pace because I can, because I meditate, because I work on my chakras, because I'm very aware of my monkey mind, the internal dialogue, the false ego, the hammer. And it doesn't harm me like it used to 20, 30 years ago, or when I was 14. I've harnessed my power through meditation. And so tarot isn't something you just crack the seal open and suddenly you're going to... Because when I was a kid and I first started, I would sit and contemplate. It was slow. It took a long time for me to get to the level I am in how I read. But when I was a kid, I would throw the cards and I would sit and contemplate and read the meanings of the cards through the book that was, connected to the deck. And then try to... It probably took me a half hour to read one throw for myself or for others. Meaning others, meaning asking questions about other people that I cared about. So tarot isn't going to be your ally if your monkey mind is fucking everywhere. If you can't do 5 minutes in a meditation, you shouldn't even be reading tarot for yourself, much less other people. And what I'm finding is that people are cracking the seals of tarot, throwing up their banner of I'm a psychic reader, and they've only started reading a year ago, 2 years ago, charging $150. And I know who they are out there. And I know how long they've cracked the seal of their tarot deck. And I know they don't meditate. And I know they're not in fucking balance. I have my friends who have meditated for years. And they're excellent tarot readers. My son meditates and chants. He's an excellent tarot reader. Because tarot, to really read it, you're not reading stamps here. You are the wielder of cards. And because we have this weird idea that 3D is static, rather than a holographic universe. You might have the Queen of Cups on the top, but as you're downloading in energy and the Queen of Cups turns into the Ace of Cups and you're pulling it out, but it was originally the Queen of Cups. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand where I'm coming from here? In other words, it's morphed into the appropriate cards from the downloads. And because the world is the universe is a holographic universe, it shifts. Its shape shifts. Or suddenly it turns upside down. Ace of Cups upside down. That's not a good sign. King of Cups upside down is someone who's bereft with the Queen of Cups, with the Ace of Swords. For example, and the Queen of Cups is facing the Ace of Swords and the King of Cups is upside down, he's fucked up emotionally. He's fucked up. He doesn't want to know the truth, and he doesn't want to speak the truth, and he doesn't want to walk in his light. He doesn't. He's not ready. He's an emotional mess. And after, other cards will show why, how, when. Will it heal? Can this person heal? Or are they going to play this little woe is me game for a few years, And even a few years can change. It's like a GPS. You plug in the address. You're going to San Francisco. You're 3 hours away. It says you'll be there in 3 hours. And before you know it, something changes. Other influences, other people get involved in a massive car accident. And what should have taken 3 hours now takes 6 because the machine says, would you like to reroute? So there's all kinds of aspects to reading tarot. And tarot isn't something you just read and then you're done. Because after a tarot reading, you have to ask it. Well, if you're a good tarot reader, you would tell your client, here are the exercises you need to do to make sure you stay on the course or you deviate from this course to create a new point of success. Because so far what we've seen is not successful. So we need to realign this. Or it could be, this is very successful. So for you to stay aligned, do what you're doing, but let's add this to make sure that the course doesn't deviate, doesn't shift, doesn't change into something, completely like goes off the rails. So tarot is saying what it's saying based on multiple things. And then tarot also will not deviate. There are questions that tarot will answer, and I've done this for decades, where I'll want an answer and it will say no, 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 no. It doesn't matter which cards fall. No, it's a fucking no. No, it's a no. I'll even have my son say, look, can you? No, still no. No. No is no, which means it's a fated no. It means it's not going to happen. Period. Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you kumbaya and you meditate. It's a no. It's a no. But sometimes it's saying you need more work. You need to manifest. And the magician will come in. And there'll be all kinds of other cards around it that will say what you need to do and why you need to do it that way. Or why are you preventing yourself from winning? Because all you need to do is manifest. Really, if you don't manifest, you're not going to get this. But if you manifest, you're definitely going to win this particular desire. Tarot is pretty fascinating. So I wonder why people who are clinging to their religions are so hell-bent on telling people that it's the devil's work, when the only devil is the ones denying it or wielding with nefarious intent. Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? Let me see here. So anyway, I will let you go. It doesn't look like, thank you, Brandy, for liking the live. I think it's a long night, a slow night. And sending you much love on your journey. I will go ahead and upload this. Hopefully this was interesting to you. And please check out my my YouTube channel. This is where you're going to find this video and a lot of videos on the sacred masculines and them talking with each other. They're amazing videos, so please follow me there. And namaste, be well.